All right, let's begin. Well, good afternoon. I am Ilya Zeldin from Tonomi, and welcome to all of you Idaho educational leaders. I am really thrilled to see so many of you sign up for this call. It really represents an incredible commitment to teacher growth and student success across the state. If you don't mind, please take a moment to drop your name and just the district in the chat room. Also, if you have your Tonomi system already, it's okay. Please try to log in into your admin portal because we'll be doing some hands-on work together, and you may want to follow along in your own system. So last year we started as a state-sponsored educator evaluation platform with 35 LEAs, and this year we have at least 72 now. And so on this call, we have both second year veterans and brand new administrators. And so we'll include some live demo time to make sure everyone can follow along with the practical steps. And then also, I will be taking some questions, time permitted, at the end. So, and it's just me today on the webinar. So please hold your questions until then, but please drop them into the chat. And because if they come up, we will definitely address them. And so, but in general, this session is all about you highlighting your patterns from last year, learning from the data, and setting you up for an incredible 25-26 school year. So we are going to be covering in the next 30 to 40 minutes. First, we're going to highlight some insights from the past year, and then we will review practical steps to help you roll into the next year. I will also do a live demo of how we've streamlined the feedback and evaluation process. And then finally, I'll just summarize some of the exciting new features coming your way. As I said, please share your thoughts and questions in the chat, and we will get to all of them. So let's jump into something that may actually change how you approach teacher feedback and development. This summer, we examined what actually happens to teacher practice over the course of a school year. We analyzed over 10,000 formal observation notes from August 24 through June 2025 using the Danielson framework for teaching. All the data is anonymized and it excludes self-observations to really ensure that we're comparing only administrative observations. Our objective for this analysis was to answer questions that every principal asks. Which teachers are growing and where? Which teachers are struggling? And where should you focus your limited time? So I want to talk to you for the next 5 minutes about some of these findings and their implications. So the good news is that teacher observation results showed 23% improvement overall across all Danielson domains after targeted feedback and job embedded learning. Growth is consistent across all domains with the highest gains in domains 1 and 4. Also, stability indicates competence, not stagnation. When teacher scores remain stable, it typically means they're already performing at the expected level. So, for example, in the Danielson framework, most teachers should be operating consistently in the proficient range, and staying there is a success, not failure. And still, the 23% who did change showed meaningful growth. 60% of changes were improvement. This isn't just random fluctuation. These are teachers who move from one performance level to another through targeted feedback and support. That's substantial intentional improvement. And this is really one of the key stats that shows that the system is working. Because when scores do shift, they're far more likely to go up than down, which means that your coaching and professional learning efforts are having an intended effect. And furthermore, we can show you some key areas where to focus your energy. The big kind of disclaimer is that this analysis is big picture across more than 10,000 observations, and still it reveals broad patterns about teacher growth and high impact coaching areas. I've highlighted some of the key takeaways from this research. The first being is that you should celebrate areas with the highest growth. So identify teachers that have growth in that display the highest level of growth, or the areas that display the highest level of growth. Call out your teachers, celebrate these wins. Secondly, use the data to guide professional learning planning and focus coaching on areas with the highest degree of movement. So in this case, we have components 1C and 3B and 2C. These are the kinds of areas that are both having an immediate classroom impact. They transform student engagement, and at the same time, they seem to be right for coaching opportunities. Also, leverage strengths. Like for example, if the results in domain 4 are consistent from with your teachers, use these teachers as mentors. So even at a high level, this gives you a roadmap for where to invest your limited coaching time and support time for maximum impact. There's a section in our research that's called "What This Means for You," and it literally indicates things that you can do this week, this month, and this quarter. I will drop a link to this research, and I certainly encourage you to read it. It's a very short read, but what's really exciting is that next year, the same level of insight is coming directly to each of your individual portals. Our goal is to introduce personalized analytics showing which teachers are demonstrating growth in target components, which ones need support, and where to focus your coaching energy. So we're doing this because it's all part of our work in bringing useful AI enhanced features to make your job easier and more effective. So, with this preamble and touching back on some of the practices that kind of shaped our understanding of your activity last year, we can now jump right into your portal and start seeing a few things in action. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk to you about the 4 steps from a year-end transition and how to prepare your portal for the next year, right? Step one is to make sure that you have the right teachers in your portal. So I'm so for those of you who are familiar with it, of course, you'll recognize your participant section. If you're new to the portal, please move to the participant section and just try to follow along. But yes, I'm showing like a demo account. I don't want to show anyone's real data. Within this account, I have 3 participants. So one of the things that, for example, we want to do is we want to exclude one of them. If this teacher is no longer in our community, we can just click on this delete icon, but in fact, it doesn't delete the teacher. What we've added this archiving feature, so you can remove the teachers, but then if there's an audit situation or if you need to pull back the records, you'll see we've added in the top right corner this button to bring up the archived participant. So I'm going to click on that. And then if I need to restore someone's records, be able to report them to the state or for my own review, I can bring that person back. So you can review your participants. You can archive them one at a time, or based on some grouping. But that's how you clean up your roster from participants, from teachers and staff that's no longer there. If you need to add new staff, then we have this add participant link right here. It's a very seamless process. If you just want to add one person, email, first name, last name, and then the next step, you'll be able to assign them to a building or to a learning group. You'll be able to give them administrative access rights, and so on. So this is a great way for you to add kind of one person at a time. If you have a lot of people that you would like to add, or if you'd like to change the kind of the organizational structure where maybe they change the schools or they're in a different learning group, just call us, talk to us directly. There's a simple Excel file that you can use that will append your records and add all new folks as they come in. So that's when we clean up the house. Then another thing that we also hear is what to do with the current self-reflections. You have 3 options for your current staff. First of all, you can just roll them into the next year and keep the growth trajectory intact. So don't change anything. And maybe last year you focused on domain number one. This year your plan is to focus on domain number three. You don't need to delete older self-reflection results. You can just continue using your portal and have it update in real time. Your second option is to reset individual domains or the entire thing for a person. So, for example, if you're in participants, you would go into your actions, and within your actions, you can see that you have a section here that says reset self-reflection. And so for any one person or for a group of people, you can reset any one domain or the entire thing. If you do that, your teacher will receive an email that their self-reflection has been reset and asking them to proceed to their dashboard and complete it. And of course, you can mix and match, right? Some people you may want to keep on their current trajectory. Other folks, you maybe they're on the plan, or maybe you want them to focus on a particular domain. So it's easy to reset their self-reflection results as you need them. So those were the three things that are important in terms of your cleanup, 3 out of 4, right? Removing or archiving participants, adding new participants, and resetting self-reflection where necessary. The fourth is probably more impactful because this is where you're able to define the date range for your portal. So for example, if you have a lot of data, a lot of observations, forms, portfolios, you just had a full productive year last time, you want to take away all that white noise this year. So you can say, so then that means that you can define your year, let's say from August 1 of 2025 through July 31 of 2026. Now that you've defined the year, all the system will simply or collect all of the observations, feedbacks, and forms, everything that you and the teachers do in this form in this portal, only for this year. Having said that, making sure that we can control all the artifacts that are being collected and displayed. Having said that, if you are an evaluator, if you're a principal, if you're an evaluator, often enough, you still want to look at the prior data, right? You still want to look at what happened last year. So if you're an evaluator, if you have that admin access, you have your own custom date range in the evaluation section. So this date range will, by default, will conform to the global setting, but then you can go back and really look at the last year's history and bring it up and make sure that helps you shape your feedback and evaluation ratings. So quite often people like to start with this step 4 first with the date range because it makes everything else clearer. Now that we're in evaluations, I want to quickly recap some of the work that we've been doing and basically recap that process of capturing feedback about your teachers, right? The idea is that at a bare minimum, you have 2 requirements, and here in the footer of your admin portal, you can see what the requirements are from OSBE. But that's basically to have 2 classroom observations and 1 summative, and that's excellent. But of course, the bulk of the work happens between these important events. So as a principal, you can start on the formal side. As a coach or as a mentor, you would likely fill out, kind of make more of informal notes, but regardless, everything is interconnected together. So I will start on the formal side. I'll start a new form. Right off the bat, I will show you that the system, it defaults to a teacher rubric, but also includes rubrics for almost all certified staff. So the idea is that if, for example, you're evaluating a nurse, then the system will update and display the domains and components and the rest of the structure pertaining to that particular rubric. I'll go back to the teacher. So the type of evaluation of feedback that it is. It could be classroom, it could be summative. Obviously, it's an important designation because, especially if it's a summative, it'll ask you for additional field required to populate the year-end CLDS report. So this part is important. So let's just say this is a classroom observation. And then, as I said, in the first column, you have the structure of the rubric. You can click on any one component and immediately pull up its definitions and critical attributes. You have this user experience, your teachers have the same UX, so that language of the Danielson framework really becomes the common language around which we streamline the feedback and subsequently the professional learning as well. Using the language of the rubric, this is where you would select your performance level. But even in the way of shaping that, right, this may be all the way at the end. But in the process of doing it, you are free to identify specific behaviors, right? So the system will show you detailed critical attributes as clickable options so you can justify these different observations. You can leave your feedback as in a verbal form as well. You can attach anything that supports your observation. You can share it with each teacher, a particular observation, or you can just keep it there for record keeping. The system will keep track of it all. Furthermore, if you have made observations in the past, this all of them will be kept under this little bell sign. So whether or not it was you, whether or not it was other stakeholders, as long as an observation was organized and tagged to a particular component, the system will keep track of all these bits and pieces in order to keep you informed. And in the same way, if you've conducted evaluations before, the system will give you a simple snapshot of all the previous results for each component. And so the idea is to really promote that type of more frequent, more nuanced, more positively charged and evidence-based opportunities to collect feedback and ultimately turn it into a summative evaluation. I'll quickly show you, just to illustrate the point, that if it is a summative, then the system will display additional fields that are required from the administrative side and also confirm the student achievement score, which is part of the CLDS export at the end of the year. So that was the formal side. On the informal, it's very similar, basically another side of the same coin, right? So you can select the different roles for whom you are collecting your observation. You may have different templates that actually the system it already comes with pre and post observation templates. You may have your own, and you'd be able to customize this portal to the best practices of your district. And then I'll just say test observation. What I want to show you is that kind of situation when you have only 10, 15 minutes to observe a teacher. You don't have time to kind of do a lot of tagging or coding around it. So we just say calls on students. We'll say 80% engaged. Again, you can share it with a teacher right away, or you can just save it. And then the system, if you tap on a name, that's always the trick. It'll expand all the details. This is the observation that we just created. Didn't really tag it to anything. So later in the evening, we can come back to it and say, okay, well, this certain portion of my observation, and now we're able to tag it to a particular component or more than one if we needed to. Right. So the idea is that you can select, you can capture your observation and later be able to come back to it and tag it accordingly. And then the system will organize everything for you here. And later, when you create a formal observation, it'll organize everything under these little bells, as I mentioned before. So everything is at your fingertips. Everything it gets organized and in one place. It's a way for all members of your staff to keep track of all of the evaluation and professional learning activities related to each teacher. Another thing that I wanted to show you is this the fact that this system includes all these different forms that are required, the teacher-facing forms. So we have the individual professional learning plan, we have the student achievement and growth plan. These you can select more, so you can see the system packs a bunch of really good forms in English and now even in Spanish. And so it gives you a chance to select the forms that you need, modify them if necessary. It creates a unique copy just for your district. So as long as it conforms, as I said before, to your best practices, that's the idea. The goal is not for you to change your work around these templates. The goal is for this system to organize everything within your environment and your network of teachers. Okay, we're moving well. Are there any questions so far? Can you change the date created? No, the date created cannot be changed because that's the system automatically generates that. However, the system also tracks the last date updated, right? And if we really want to be forensic about it, the system will show you interim changes within each form. Um, so I want to quickly kind of connect you to one more piece. As far as the requirements from the state, we've kind of covered it all, right? You can create in classroom observations and summative feedback all from this evaluation form. You can support your teachers with the IPLP and the student achievement growth forms. There's each teacher has their own digital portfolio, which also counts as your additional measure. And the system will organize all of these required steps in one overall summary report that where you'll be able to keep track of all this, and at the appropriate time with what button generate your CLDS export. So that's kind of how the system comes together. But at the same time, the purpose of To Know Me is to just as well personalize the professional learning around each teacher. Each of your portals already includes over 100 different resources organized and vetted by the Danielson group, and they're organized and vetted to the components of the rubric. So, for example, if we stay within the evaluation, within this evaluation section, to the left of each name, you can click this library icon, and then you can see all these different resources that are already in my test kind of learning plan, right, on the teacher side. And the idea here is to say, all right, this teacher really needs support in a particular component, let's say component 3B. And so now you're able to view only the resources that are aligned to component 3B, select them, select one or more, and then quickly add it for your teacher. And then, of course, over time, be able to track the teacher's progress with that resource. So I really wanted to make sure that I mentioned not only the observational power of the platform, but also the follow-up with regards to personalized professional learning. Before we start with the Q&A, wanted to finish this summary with an overview of some of the features that you saw today, and also with just to give you a sense of what's coming up. So I showed you already the archiving functionality to help you clean up your participant lists without losing historical data. We also reviewed the flexible date range settings because it helps you control exactly which artifacts and observations appear in your reports. At the same time, I want to confirm that your evaluators, or when you are on the evaluation screen, you still have complete flexibility in setting the date range. You are able to look kind of past the current year and look into the historical overviews as well. And then finally, not that it kind of relates to our work here, but the framework for teaching, the Danielson framework for teaching, is now available in Spanish and only from To Know Me. We're offering this complete Danielson framework in Spanish, making evaluation accessible to so many more native speakers. Really excited about this. And coming soon, we really have some game-changing AI features, right? It took us about a year to figure out how to implement different AI opportunities to support our end users, in this case, to support our administrative end users. And we've come up with some pretty exciting things. I mentioned First of all, the personalized portal analytics, right? So basically, that analysis that I started today's conversation with, that type of an analysis will be available not only at a high level, but will be available for teachers in your network. So you'll have the same level of insight, but specifically for your school. And so you'll be able to see which of your teachers are growing. You'll be able to at least be, again, data in, garbage out. So it's the quality of collecting the data through these observations and feedbacks, combined with this, with keeping everything in one place and the system really understanding what kind of an engagement each teacher is having with their professional learning resources and feedback. That's what gives us the opportunity to give you comprehensive analysis of where teachers are, who needs what kind of growth, and what are the best ways to provide that growth. The other AI enhancement is in the summative evaluation, because we feel that this is something that will revolutionize your end of the year process. What we're working on is to have AI analyze all of the observation data, notes, and growth patterns you've collected throughout the year to draft a comprehensive and at the same time personalized summative evaluation. Essentially, you review, personalize, and approve, saving you hours of writing time while providing better and more data-driven feedback. Taking these tasks that currently take, an hour and a half, 2 hours per teacher, and reducing them hopefully down to 15, 20 minutes. That is the power of AI working with your existing observation notes and data. I think that's the end. I'm going to pause here and just wanted to understand kind of this is where I need your input, right? What would make the biggest difference in your daily work? What features would save you time and help you support teachers more effectively? I don't see a way to unmute everyone, but I do see some questions that I'll start reading. If we do not reset the self-reflection, does the teacher have the ability to edit the self-reflection from the prior school year? No, they do not. No, the self-reflection is something that a teacher does once. As an administrator, you can reset it, but otherwise it stays. Julie asked the question if there's a way you can make a tab that we could just click for the past evaluations instead of having to change the date range. Uh, okay, we'll consider that. It's more than just the reason for the date range is because it's more than just past evaluations. It's also portfolios. It could be other things that you could be interested in, but I can see the need for the kind of shortcut that you're suggesting here. Is there a way for the staff member to acknowledge their evaluation? Absolutely, yes. You would type, there's a checkbox that says request receipt, and that sends a request for the administrator to acknowledge and to essentially press an extra button to make sure, and the system would record that. Would there be a way to add an electronic signature to the formal and summary evaluation? Is the question from Amber. The answer is yes. I've heard it a couple of times that I showed it to folks how it works now, and they're like, okay, that's fine. But I think it's one of those things that we need to do anyway. So Amber, if you don't mind, shoot me an email, or I'll find you, and let's work through this process. We might as well just get it done. Brenda, can you show us how to reset the self-reflection for all staff? Yes, I can. So if you're in participants, you can click on the checkbox next to a name, right? And then you can press select all. Like in your case, it'll be all 700 plus. Refresh my memory, asked Brendan, how we assign the teachers their IPLP and student growth forms. You don't assign it for teachers per se. You enable the form to be visible. And so if I'm in the forms, I have 3 forms here, and they're all enabled, which means that as a teacher in the district, I will be able to select one of these 3 forms and start working on it. What does the enable without self-reflection button mean? Oh, okay. This means that your teachers would not need to complete their self-reflection. The system will just grant them access to their portal, to your feedback, to whatever, to the forms, without the requirement of filling out the self-reflection. We have entire districts in Idaho that are using this, and at the same time, we have many districts that are offering teachers this opportunity to reflect about the rubric. It is optional and it is up to you, and that's why you have this ability to disable it for your teachers or for some of your teachers. Thank you very much, everyone. That's the capture of the summary. Okay, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that very much. You guys, as I said, I will send out this recording. I appreciate everyone's time. Tell your friends, and if you need anything, you know where to find me. All the best to everyone.